G'day there. Welcome back. We are here with Retney. He's in the house. I was going to say building, but this is virtual, so it's not really a building. But we are going to be jumping into some deep Star Wars conversations today. He's got the knowledge, and we want to know. So, Retney, welcome to the Rayside.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Your channel, your YouTube channel, Retney's Holocron, has been a very delicious spoonful of Star Wars lore that everybody needs in their lives. You've recently reached 100,000 subs on your channel. The Star Wars lore is what people are loving. Jump us into your YouTube channel. Talk a little bit about when you started the channel and how you started your YouTube.
Yeah, so I mean, my channel is mostly lore, pretty much like 99% lore, but I'm starting to get into like doing more streams. Like I like to like stream games and stuff too, just because like I play Star Wars video games anywhere, so I figured I might as well start streaming them.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm getting more into that. Sometimes I keep up with news and stuff, but yeah, it's mostly lore. And really the way that I built the channel was through YouTube Shorts. Which I'm always telling people how useful shorts are. It's kind of like a double-edged sword though, because like you said, like, yeah, I just got 100,000 subscribers, but it's like most of that, like I think on my analytics, it says like my viewers, like 96% of them only watch my shorts. So
wow.
yeah. So like I built the channel off of shorts, but now like that's like the only thing that people watch. So since I started doing YouTube full time last May, that's when I started really going into like long form and doing like the long form lore videos every day. But I have a few that have done well, and like that's really cool. Like there's a few that have like reached and gone and got recommended, and you know, I think the biggest one that I have is at like 280K, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But then like 90% of the other ones that I make, they get like 2,000 views the day they come out, and then they just die. So even though I've been doing YouTube since July 2022, and even though I've been doing it for that long and the channel's at like 100,000 subs, it feels like I just started, or like I'm still like just building it or whatever, because like I feel like I'm still known, like to this day, like I get most of my subs from my shorts. So I feel like people think that I'm only a shorts channel and they don't even know that I make long form vids. So it's really hard to like make that transition from being a shorts channel to like getting viewers to like consistently watch long form videos. Cause it's something crazy. Like only like 6% of my viewers watch videos and shorts. It's like 96%.
So crazy. Yeah.
It's weird. So yeah, people are like, oh my God, you have like 100,000 subscribers. And I'm like, yeah, dude, but they don't watch my long form videos yet. Like only there's like 100 people out there that are watching my long form vids every day, which is shout out to those people, because that's where like most of the work goes into, and those take the longest. But the way that I started was I actually started as like an Instagram page. And back in the day, my name, like my channel name, my username used to be the Kyber Club, because I basically, like, I've always loved Star Wars, but I wasn't like super into it to the point where like I would read the books and the comics and all that stuff. I just loved like the 6 movies, and like I didn't even watch Clone Wars because like my parents, I swear, they might have been the first people to cancel cable. Like once Netflix went streaming. When I was a kid, we didn't have cable from the time that I was like in middle school or something. So like we didn't have cable. I would only watch like Netflix and whatever. So I didn't watch the Clone Wars when it was on. I binged all of Clone Wars a few years ago once season 7 was coming out. So like all I knew of Star Wars was the movies. Like I always had the box sets of the 6, and that was it. And then like once The Force Awakens came out, that like reinvigorated everything, and I was like, man, like there's Star Wars Episode 7, that's crazy. And then I did not like The Last Jedi, and I did The Rise of Skywalker was like okay, like I went into it with low expectations, but then it was like, okay, cool, that was Episode 9, whatever. And then when The Mandalorian came out, that was like, oh dude, this is awesome, like I'm passionate about Star Wars again. And then when Luke came on in season 2, in 2020 or whenever that was.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
like that like blew my mind. It's like that scene in Ratatouille where he has the flashback to like when he eats the pasta and has like the flashback to being a little
Yeah.
kid. It was like that because
Oh,
I was like, oh, that's Luke Skywalker. Like, like my mind
yeah.
exploded and I like
Yeah.
remembered
Mhm.
all those feelings that I had when I was a little kid.
Yes.
Cause like when I was a kid and I saw Star Wars, my dad, he's like now he's one of those like 50-year-old dudes that hates the prequels and he thinks they're
Oh,
so
yes.
terrible.
Right.
So
Right.
he only likes the originals and he hates the
Mhm.
special editions too. So he only
Oh,
likes
right.
the
That hardcore.
original
That's I like that. I like
trilogy.
that. Respect.
Yeah, so I remember him like one day like bringing out the box set of VHS and being like, "We're gonna watch Star Wars today." And then like, so
Mhm.
I only ever saw the original trilogy. Like, I didn't see the prequels until they had all already come out because he wouldn't let me see Revenge of the Sith because I was like 5 when it came out in the theaters, and he said it
Mm,
was too violent. But
mm.
yeah, then like once the Mandalorian season 2 ended and Luke was there, I like completely like fell in love with Star Wars all over again to the point where like I started like reading the comics. Like I never paid
Yeah.
attention to it, so like I started reading like the newer like Canon Marvel series, and then I started buying some of the books because like I didn't even know about the books like at all. Like I
Yeah.
remember I had like one Darth Maul book that I got at like the book fair when I was a kid, but I didn't know
Mhm.
about like Heir to the Empire and New Jedi Order and all that stuff. I didn't even know that there was books like that. So then once I
Mm.
started like getting super into it in like 2020 and 2021, I was like super back into Star Wars. I was reading the books and stuff. And then um it just got to a point in 2022 where I was like, I'm posting so much Star Wars crap on my personal Instagram. I feel like I should just make a Star Wars account. And then so I did that, and I had seen another account that was called the Cantina Club, and I was like, "Oh, that's a really cool name. That sounds like a community. Like they're all in this club, and it's the cantina." I was like, "That sounds awesome." I was like, "I want to do something like that, like with club." And then just by
Mm.
coincidence, I was replaying Fallen Order when Cal goes to Ilum and gets his crystal, and I was like, "The Kyber Club. That sounds
Mm.
awesome. Like
It's
that's
that's pretty
cool."
fire. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I was like,
like
"That's
that
cool."
name. Yeah.
So then I started just doing like daily fact posts on Instagram, like fact one, fact two, like blah, blah, blah. Cause I had gotten like one of the complete visual dictionaries. So I would just like
Mhm.
go through the visual dictionaries and find a cool fact and then post that on Instagram. And then like a lot of my friends and my coworkers at the time told me that I should start doing TikTok, but I had never had or used or downloaded TikTok ever. And I was like, I don't want to do
Mm.
TikTok. Like TikTok sucks. I don't want to do that. But then like I don't know. I started doing reels and then I was like, fine, I'll upload on TikTok. And then like for some reason on TikTok, they started doing really well. And I got like, you know, a few thousand on TikTok. And I was like, wow, like my Instagram's only at like 80 followers, but I already have like 4,000 on TikTok or whatever.
Mm.
And then I found out, you know, whatever it was, like July 2022, that there was YouTube Shorts, which I had never heard of. I didn't know YouTube had like a
Yeah.
vertical short video thing. So then one day, like I was just like, okay, cool. Like I had my Google account or whatever, and I was like, I had this empty
Mhm.
channel that I had never used. So then I literally just went on my phone and downloaded like 30 TikToks with the TikTok watermark on it and stuff, like how they
Oh,
bounce
yeah.
around.
Yeah.
And I just uploaded those onto YouTube as shorts, like all at once, like 30 shorts all at once. Because I didn't know anything about the
So good.
algorithm or uploading or anything.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like, and then I did that, and then like you know every day ish, like I was working full time, so I would make videos in the morning and then after work, and then I would like make a video and then put it on like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. And then for a really long time, my TikTok was my most popular. Like it was the biggest. It would always grow a
Mm.
lot faster than YouTube Shorts. And then eventually, I don't know, they just kind of like caught up with one another. And I think in May of last year was when I like quit my retail job because I just
Mhm.
hated it so much. And I had always said like, yeah, once I get to like X amount of subscribers or like X amount of revenue, I'm gonna quit my job and like go out on a limb and try to do this. And then one day I just got so like annoyed with my retail job that I just like called my dad because I was still living with my parents. And I was
Mhm.
like, would you be mad if I quit my job today and I try to do YouTube like for real full time?
Man.
And
Yeah.
he was like, okay, I appreciate you asking me. He was like, do it, but if you can't make your car payment next month, you have to get another job. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, I'll
Wow.
do that.
Damn.
So then I was like, all right, that's a deal. I'll do it. So then like I literally like I put my 2 weeks in, but then I only went like for like 2 more days or whatever, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out. And then then in May like I like started like really trying to grind it out, like doing long form, because like I had made a few long form videos here and there, but because my entire audience only watches my shorts, they would do like nothing. Like I think the biggest one I had done was when Celebration happened in London. I woke up at like 5 a.m. or whatever time it was, like 2 p.m. there.
Night.
And I was like watching, and I was like following on Twitter to see when they were gonna announce the 3 movies, and I made a video like next 3 Star Wars movies announced, and I put it on YouTube at like 8 a.m. or whatever. And then by like 1 p.m. where I was at, it had like 10K views. And I was like, oh my God, like this is awesome. This is like the biggest video I've ever done, like blah, blah. And then like all my other like lore videos would get like 1,000 and then like be done or whatever. But then I had shorts that was like some shorts, it's really crazy how they'll blow up. Like Tony counted the other day that I was on his show, and he was like, you have like 11 shorts that are over 1 million views. And I'm like,
damn.
like, that, you know, they blow up like that. But like, I think people don't get like how like short, the way that like shorts pay out and long form videos pay out is completely different. And like,
sure.
I'm like, you know, I have a short, like I made like, you know, if there's a short that gets like 5 million views, that's like $200, which is like awesome. But like if a long form video gets 5 million views, that's like 10 grand or something crazy like that.
Yeah,
so
massive difference.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the super long version of how I like started doing YouTube and stuff.
Yes,
so
that's right.
yeah. So now
that's how we got here. That's we're here now. Right.
And
right.
now I am doing it, scraping along. Like I'm trying, like, you know, I moved into my first apartment. So like car payment, food, bills, it's YouTube, everything. But it still feels like a crazy uphill battle because like I said, like it's such a struggle to jump into long form. And then like I get comments all the time where people are like, still to this day on TikTok or Instagram, people are like, oh, I didn't even know you had a YouTube channel. And I'm like, dude, I'm like I have it. Yeah, I'm like I have it in my bio. It says subscribe on YouTube, 100K on YouTube, blah blah blah. Or like people will be like, or someone will comment like on a long form, like, wow, checked out your channel, didn't know you made long videos. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, but you know, it's, you know, that's just part of the new YouTube, I guess. Cause like shorts have only been around for a few years. So now like there's full channels out there that are built on shorts. So, I don't know. It's weird. It's scary, but it's fun at the same time.
I love it. It's weird. It's scary. That is such a great summation of it. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, talking about your content specifically, let's get into the actual kind of videos you make and the information you are getting out to people. So it's kind of the what, why, how of Star Wars, which, to be fair, Star Wars nerds love to know. We want to know the most, you know, important details, but also the most random details possible. And this has definitely shaped a lot of your content, and specifically honing around these main characters of the movies. Talk a little bit about the journey that you've been on, where you have dipped into the Legends information and the canon information. Obviously, the difference just being who's been in charge of the helm of Lucasfilm at the time. How do you choose, you know, which part of Star Wars you're going to delve into? Is it just based on interest? And what has been like the reaction to both Legends and canon information? Like, what have you think is more popular? Is Legends dying out? What are your thoughts?
That's a really good question. Well, no, like I don't like if there's a question that I want to answer, I'm not like, like, do I want to look at like Legends or canon? Like the way that I like just like think of like a video idea or something is just like, it's pretty organic just from me, like whatever book I happen to be reading. So like a lot of the ideas, like I'll just go through and I'll be like, you know, I'm going to start reading this book. I'm going to read that book or whatever. And then there's some stuff where like, if it's something that I think of that I'm like, oh, that would be an interesting video idea. If I can just like already remember where I saw something mentioned about it, then I'll just use that book. And like personally, I don't care if it's canon or legends. I only like, there was a while where I didn't even put canon or legends in the title of the videos because I just wanted the topic to be the focus. But then I got a lot of people commenting like, can you put if it's canon or legends? Because like I want to know if this is real Star Wars or if it's Disney Star Wars. And then I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, I put legends and canon just so like people know, and then they can have their own opinions on the information from that. But for my ideas, like no, I just like read the books, and if it's canon, I'll do that. There's some that I have where it'll be canon and legends because there'll be like different things from different books. So like I did one recently that was like, I have an upcoming one that's like, why did Darth Vader like remain loyal to Palpatine like after Padme died, when that was like the main thing that he promised him. And I just remembered like in the Revenge of the Sith novelization, there's like the scene where he wakes up in the armor and he like tries to reach out and crush Palpatine with the Force, but he can't. And then he realizes that Palpatine is the only person he has left. And then I'm also rereading Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, which is a Legends book. And there's all this stuff in Vader's mind where he realizes that like Palpatine saved him and he should be grateful to Palpatine and he's the one who killed Padme. So then, even though people love to say that the novelizations aren't canon anymore, they are. They're loosely canonical. They're still present in the timeline on readstarwars.com. I will argue with anyone about this if you want to talk about it. Find me a copy of the Revenge of the Sith novelization with the Legends logo on it. I dare you to try to find that. But anyway, because I cited the novelization of Revenge of the Sith and Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader in the title, I just put parentheses canon and legends. And then it's like cool. And then I might put like the little chapters where it's like legend story, canon story. And like, I did that for like how Anakin became a Force ghost. Like, just because a lot of the times, like I'll browse around and like, I got like whatever, like the Kindle app. And I was like looking at all these Star Wars books and stuff. And like, there's all the ones that are like young adult. Like there's the Darth Maul one that's called like The Wrath of Darth Maul. And that's the one that I read when I was a kid. And it's like the Scholastic books. There's like 4 of them. There's a Darth Maul, there's a Obi-Wan, there's a Luke, and there's a Vader. So like I'll just go through those and read them, and then if there's something interesting, I'll like make a video about it, and like, and if I think of stuff, like I'll like, I have like a little Post-it dispenser, and then I'll just put like a Post-it on my little desk, like lightsaber marks of contact, and then so then I remember to make it, because I was actually looking at
we love
like
this. This is so cool.
I just get books. So like I go to like there's this chain called Half Price Books. And I'll go to like different half price books in my area or whatever and just look for Star Wars books. And like I think I actually bought this one on eBay. But this is a Legends encyclopedia, but it has crazy information in it. And the way that I try to think about it is like I just leave it up to the viewer. Because the Star Wars fans are so like specific about how they want to accept information and what continuity it's from. So if I make a video that's Legends, if you're one of the people that just like doesn't care about Legends because it's not canon, so you don't think it's like legit, fine. It's not canon, fine. For me, it's still part of lore. I just look at it as it being like how many times have like DC Comics reset their whole universe? Like there's like New 52, Rebirth, whatever. And it's like, are you going to not read this Superman comic from the 80s just because it's not part of this like new one where he has a turtleneck or something? Like, I don't know. Like, so I don't care about that at all. Like, it's just different continuities. It's still Star Wars lore. And then like vice versa, if I make one that's canon, whenever I make a video that says canon in the title, there's always at least one person that comments and is like, this isn't canon because it's not made by George Lucas, or nothing Disney is canon or whatever. So the way I see it, there's always going to be the two extremes where they either hate Legends or they hate canon or whatever. So I personally like both. So I just make videos like wherever I can find the information, I'll use that. Like since Legends in the expanded universe was around for a lot longer, there's usually, when you want to find an explanation for something, it pretty much only exists in Legends. Very rarely will there be something where it's like, oh, there's also this new story in canon that explains it. Like, I had made one about Legends, like from Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader. Like I made a short, like did Anakin regret killing younglings? Because there's like a scene where Vader goes back to the Jedi Temple and he like looks at like the blast marks and the pillars and stuff, and he thinks about killing the younglings, and it's crazy. It reveals that when Anakin was there, he hesitated and didn't think that he could kill children. And then the dark side like whispered into his ear and said that the younglings were just orphans and no one would miss them. So then he was like, oh, okay. And then he just like murdered all of them. So then I used that for a short. And then someone commented like, but what did Anakin think about it in canon? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, I have no idea because there's like not. Point. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. This is from a Legends book. Like, it's literally just from this book. I was like, I genuinely have no idea. So there's always going to be that where it's like, what happened in canon? Oh, but what happened in Legends? But this is the real one. But Legends was never canon to George. And it's like, whatever, dude. I don't know. If you care about this, if you care about what Anakin was thinking when, Qui-Gon told him this, like, just watch the video, dude. Like, I don't know. It's canon, Legends. It's still Star Wars lore. Like, I don't know how, like, I don't know. It really gets tiresome when people are like, this isn't canon. Like this is fake canon. Like this is Disney canon. Blah blah blah. And I don't know. Like the way I see it, all Star Wars books are Star Wars books, and they're all lore. And it's just if you can just accept that there's different continuities, that's it. Like I don't know because there's some stuff that does not exist in canon yet because canon has only existed for 12 years or they reset it in 10 years, I think, because they reset it in 2014. So you're comparing a continuity that's existed for 10 years to one that was around for like 40 years. So I don't know. In 30 years, I'm sure they'll be equal finally.
There'll be another new canon that we'll all be fighting over again as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I read both Legends and canon books and stuff, so I don't have a preference.
I like that though. It's like Star Wars lore is just Star Wars lore. It's up to you or the audience whether they want to accept or reject that. I kind of like that philosophy. That's cool. With your Star Wars videos and obviously like a lot of the topics and like your long form videos are diving into some sort of question about one of the characters, and obviously those main characters or reoccurring characters, at least I saw and everyone would see on your channel, is mainly a lot of Luke stuff, a lot of Anakin stuff. And I want to talk about those characters specifically because clearly you've poured in hours into understanding these characters' psyches, why they did things, and learning and reading about who they were just in such detail that I want to hear your take on. We'll start with Luke because I feel like he's a slightly easier one to answer this question with. What is it about Luke's character that makes him so important, impactful, and relatable to the audience? What is it about Luke Skywalker?
Well, for me, like, I feel like even when I didn't really know it, like, Luke was always my hero. Because, like I said, I grew up on the OT, so, like, Luke, I knew about Luke for years before I even knew about Anakin. Like I probably watched the OT when I was like 4 or 5, and then my dad didn't let me watch the prequels until I was like 6 or 7.
That is so hilarious. Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to see Revenge of the Sith. Like I had the toys and stuff. He just wouldn't let me see the movie because he said it was too violent.
Right. Yeah.
And so cool. I was like, okay. So I think like when I think about it now, it's weird, dude, because like when he came out in Mando, like I literally like was like crying, and like it's weird how like a fictional character can like elicit such a strong emotional response for like literally just like appearing and saving someone. But like for me, I think what it comes down to is like when I would watch the OT when I was a kid, and like Luke specifically, I feel like in Return of the Jedi was a big deal for me when he like has the green lightsaber and he jumps out and he's like saving everyone, and like I think what stood out to me was like him doing anything to save his friends. And like even as a kid you can understand that like he's going into Jabba's palace and he's telling him like, I'm going to save my friend here, like you can either help me or like I'll go through you or whatever. And even though I feel like Empire and even Return of the Jedi have like deeper themes with Luke's story through them that obviously like I wouldn't get when I'm like 5 years old watching it or whatever. Now, even though like Luke was my hero just because he was like the main action character who like saves everyone and saves Vader and everything. Now as an adult, I feel like I relate to Luke even more, and I find lessons in Luke's story through the OT because like something that like fascinates me about The Empire Strikes Back and like makes it my favorite Star Wars movie is how in A New Hope, all of Luke's characteristics and his traits and his skills lead him to like succeed in what he's doing, and he blows up the Death Star, he uses the Force or whatever. But then in Empire, all of those exact same traits cause him to fail and, you know, get like destroyed by Vader because like he can't even, Luke is so like concerned with saving his friends and feeling like he has to do everything to save people that he can't even see himself as anything but like the savior going to save them. So when he leaves Dagobah and Obi-Wan and Yoda don't want him to, he can't even consider that this might be the wrong thing for him to do because he's just thinking that I need to go save these people. That's the right thing to do. Like they're my friends. But it really was a mistake because he wasn't ready and it was a trap, and he gets his hand cut off and he doesn't save Han and he puts Leia in more danger by springing this whole trap or whatever. And that's actually something that I really like in this book is there's like a passage where Luke talks about the dark side and he like admits like, yeah, when I went to Bespin, I just like, I made everything worse. I should have just listened to Obi-Wan and Yoda or whatever. And then... So I really like resonate with that where like you can have these characteristics and these traits and they can lead you to do either really well or really poorly, and you can succeed or fail based on what the decisions you make. And like I feel like that's what happens with Luke is it's all about like he is who he is and it depends on how he decides to use that. And like that really brings in the whole like light side dark side of the Force thing because then in Return of the Jedi he's all dark and he's like way closer to the dark side. He's like coming in, like telling Jabba straight up, like, I will kill you if you don't do what I want you to do. Like, you can profit by this or be destroyed. And then at the end, he's still so compassionate to Vader. And then he has the opportunity to like kill Vader and destroy him. And he realizes that he's becoming the thing that he's trying to defeat. And then like that moment when he like throws the lightsaber and he's like, I am a Jedi, like that's been like lasered in my brain since I was like 4 years old. Like everyone who loves Luke like remembers that. And I think like as a little kid, I could know like, okay, he's brave, he's nice, he helps people, he's compassionate or whatever. Like, and I think even when you're a kid, you can kind of get like, like Darth Vader's the bad guy and he's scary, but Luke is trying to like help him and he's saying like, come with me. Like, you know, there's still good in you. And you can get that as a kid and you can be like, okay, Luke's trying to like redeem him or whatever. Like if you know like what redemption is when you're like 5, but then as an adult, like rewatching it, like I feel like I didn't even understand Empire until I was like 19 or something, like 20, like with all, because I never like paid attention to like themes and messages and movies and stuff, especially like Star Wars. Like I was just watching like Luke Skywalker like fight people, but now like to this day, like if I like think about Luke too hard, like I will get emotional because like my whole like moral universe growing up as a kid has been shaped around like these like superheroes and movie characters that I watched, like Luke, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, like those were all like my heroes when I was a kid. So like, and they're all like heroes in different ways. But like for me now that Star Wars is like my biggest like passion out of anything, like Luke is like at the top for me. And like I have like, you can't see, but I have like 3 different Luke hot toys right here, and I have a 4th that's supposed to get delivered soon.
Just watching over you. I love that.
Yeah. And I have like however many Luke action figures and stuff. Like Luke for me is just like the pinnacle of like what a hero is. And then once I started learning about like watching like the documentaries about the making of and like Empire of Dreams and like the ILM documentary and stuff, and then I learned about how George was using like myth and like the hero's journey and stuff, that just made me appreciate Luke even more because like I didn't know anything about like all those myths and like the Joseph Campbell book stuff and myth stuff and
Yes.
whatever. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So once I learned about that, then it really made me like, wow, like Luke is this and Luke is that. Like Luke's up there with like to me, Luke's up there with like the greatest fictional characters of all time. Like, I don't know, like King Arthur and
Yeah.
stuff, like mythic stuff, even though like Star Wars is obviously based on like some King Arthur stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I could ramble about Luke forever, but
Yeah, for sure. I feel like you could too. Yeah, you could just keep going with it. I love
yeah,
that. So it's
I love Luke.
he shapes this moral compass that we can have with his bravery, his compassion. I totally love that. I totally agree. I think yeah, there is a reason why he is so important to not just like a few people. It's like he is this insanely famous for his character traits in so many people, and I think it's for those reasons. I totally love that. And this is going to be interesting because in a similar sort of way, similar sort of question, now talking about Anakin and Anakin's character, and obviously his character journey is one of a fall and a failure and to a demise of his character flaws. What do you think it is with Anakin's character that we could perhaps be learning from, or we can take away from his character? Because yeah, again, like obviously Luke was the, how we can grow as people, but Anakin is the downfall. But what is it that we can be taking away from Anakin's character, from his journey?
I feel like it's just like even if you do something, Anakin's like an extreme being Darth Vader and stuff, but I feel like it is a nice idea, like a nice story to think like you can like be a good person and try to do things and like make horrible decisions, and then like you can do like bad things, but you can redeem yourself, or like that doesn't like define you for the rest of your life or something. Obviously, as much as I love Return of the Jedi, yes, it is funny that he like does one thing and then like goes back to the light side of the Force or whatever, like,
Yeah.
but for me, like, I mean, even like once I did see the prequels, I liked Anakin just because like he had long hair and he had a scar and like he would spin his lightsaber real fast and like flip around and stuff. Like I have home videos of me like like spinning and jumping around, like being like I'm Anakin,
Yeah.
like no, I'm Anakin, and so like I liked Anakin too,
Yeah.
but like just for different reasons. Like where Luke was, it was all about like who he was. For Anakin, it was more about like just like what he did, like just being like a badass or whatever. So like I never resonated with Anakin in that way where like I wanted to be like him, because he does like he always makes the worst choice possible. Like even in Attack of the Clones
Yeah.
already, he's just like murdering people and stuff. And
Yeah.
so like yeah, I feel like Anakin and Luke are two sides of the coin, but like it's so like the way that George like made this saga is that it's not just like black and white. Like you can be like, oh, Anakin does bad things, but he's not like necessarily always a bad person, and he is like trying to save his wife, and like he's incredibly psychologically messed up. Like he lost his mother, he lost Qui-Gon, so then he's trying to hold on to the people that he loves, and then that brings in the whole argument about attachment with Jedi. Like should they forbid attachment and stuff? And like the story is so like there's no way that you could just be like, yes, it's either like this. It's not like a and B thing. Like I don't know, the characters are so complex, but I definitely feel like if Anakin is like the yin, then Luke is the yang. Like Luke is more of like, Luke was always my hero. Anakin, I just thought he was cool because of like what he did, but I never like wanted to be like him, because even then, yeah, like you see Revenge of the Sith, he like kills all these people and then he like chokes Padme and stuff. So like even as a little kid, like,
Yeah.
if I saw the prequels when I was like 6 or 7, even though I thought Anakin was cool, I recognized that like he became a bad guy in that movie. So I think, I don't know, it's different. Like I do think it's really interesting when people are like when people are like, oh, Darth Vader's my favorite character, Anakin's my favorite character. And I'm like, yeah, he's awesome, he's cool. But then like when they start to go like, Anakin did nothing wrong. And I'm like, yo, like I remember I saw that was how I saw Darth Chaco the first time, was he was talking about people saying that Anakin did nothing wrong, and it was just like a TikTok of him like listing all the things that Anakin did wrong. And
It's a big list. I bet it's a big list. Yeah,
so
when you put it down.
That I feel like it's an extreme. Like, yeah, obviously Darth Vader is like the face of Star Wars and he's cool, but he's literally the villain until the last like 10 minutes of Return of the Jedi. Like that's the point, is that Anakin is like this tragic figure who becomes a villain. He becomes like a murderer and stuff, but then he gets redeemed at the end, which is cool. Like that adds some complexity to it. But I've never been in the camp where I'm like, yeah, like it was the Jedi's fault. Like Anakin fell because of them. And it's like, okay, you want to talk about the Jedi Order? We can talk about the Jedi Order, but they didn't make Anakin do any of that stuff. Like he did it because of his mental problems and stuff. So where Luke is like a brave hero, Anakin is just like a tragic like figure, like a fallen angel or whatever. Like I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What not to do in those situations? I don't know. Not that we would ever be faced with his situations, but what not to do? Yeah, for sure. And on this conversation of Star Wars characters, let's talk a little bit about looking to the future. Obviously, we've had the sequels. We've had a bunch of shows, really. What do you think is perhaps needed, or just something like you're personally looking for in characters that are already existing, that we've already seen in this kind of the past 5 years, per se? Or maybe a character you would like to see shown more as some sort of journey, trait, concept that you would like to see in Star Wars? If that's not a vague enough question.
Well, like for me personally, I mean, I think they're doing like, I think Lucasfilm is doing like a crazy job just with the amount of content that they're pumping out. Like, I mean, I only read the first High Republic book, but how many High Republic books are there now? Like 20? So like
so many. I tried to keep up too, but I was like, there's just so many.
I read the first one, and if I do go back to it, I'll probably only read like the adult ones. Like I'm not interested in reading like the young adult books and all that stuff. But I think like it's almost one of those things where it's like I want them to make more. Like I want more books and more comics and stuff, because like I still read, even though the Vader comic series that's running now is really weird and strange. But like the main Star Wars one, I still read that, and like that's telling more canon Luke stories, which is like I feel like that's what we need. Obviously I'm biased because Luke is my favorite character, but I just feel like for them to do what they did with like Luke's story and where we met him again in 7, 8, and 9, now there's like this, I think I was just looking at it in Star Wars timelines. I think Luke goes into exile in like 28 ABY or 24 ABY or something like that. So there's like a whole like 20 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And so that's why I read Shadow of the Sith, because I just wanted to read something about Luke, even though I don't like the sequels. And that book basically sets up Episode 9. I loved that book. That's like one of my favorite Star Wars books I've ever read. And then that was like a lesson for me, because I was like, I don't want to read that book. It sets up Episode 9 or whatever. But then I actually read it, and I was like, wow, I love that book. Like I need to not be a jerk. And so like I just want, like, I feel like there's these main characters, old and new, in the sequels, and like since the movies are like what the general audience knows about, and those are like the biggest things, I would like them to flesh out those characters' stories more. Like I think we need more Ben Solo stuff. Like really the only big thing is the Rise of Kylo Ren comic, and that's only 4 issues. And then I just feel like there's giant chunks for the main saga, and as much as I do like kind of stepping off from the Skywalker saga, like in The Mandalorian and stuff, and even like Ahsoka, I guess technically, I just feel like they need to like fill in those gaps quicker. Like I would prefer, instead of going so crazy on the High Republic, I would prefer if they do like, I don't know, like a comic about Luke and Ben or something. Like, I don't care what medium it is, because I'm one of those, like, I know there's people who are like, I don't read the comics, or like, I don't read the books or whatever. I'll check anything out. I don't care. They can drop like a Ben Solo radio drama, and I'll listen to it on Spotify or whatever. So, like,
oh, please, that's what we need.
I'll check it out. So I just wish that they would do like more stuff focusing on the big characters. Like, I mean, even for Rey, like the only content that we have is like in Shadow of the Sith, we learn how she got to Jakku when she was like 6 or whatever. And then literally the jump is like to The Force Awakens when she's like 19. So not saying that there's probably a whole lot going on in like 13 years on Jakku or whatever, but I just wish that they would spend more time like filling in these gaps. And, they could do, my dream is if they did like an Adventures of Luke Skywalker like cartoon, or like cartoon, comic book, whatever, because Luke Skywalker, as much as like he's considered like a legacy character now, he's still super important. They could recast him because they have like whatever they're doing, the deep fake, they could recast whatever. The fact that they've also brought him in Mando and the Book of Boba Fett as like a Jedi Master, I just think that they need to like just do something with Luke. Like there's such a big time gap where we can have those stories, and then, you know, obviously since the sequel trilogy was made after the Disney purchase and they center a lot of their stuff around the sequel era, I think it's in their best interest to do like a Ben Solo show or something, or like something about that where it's like more about his origin, because there's only so much material that you can get out there. Like I got the book Skywalker: A Family at War, which is like a biography of the whole family. And there's stuff that goes in there that it covers, like that the book Bloodline, which I haven't read yet. That's about like Leia and the New Republic and stuff.
Gotta read Bloodline. Oh,
I want
dude.
to.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so like stuff like that, like Bloodline, like that. That is so needed because they specifically didn't talk about politics at all in The Force Awakens. Like you have no context of like, why does there need to be a resistance? Like I thought the New Republic was the government.
Yeah.
Why are there like rebels again fighting the First Order? Like where did the First Order come from? And like they're touching on that with like Mando and the Shadow Council and Thrawn and stuff, which is awesome. Like that's what I want to see more of. That's actually what I appreciate about like Mando and these shows that they're doing now in like the New Republic era, is that they're kind of like setting up what comes later. And like as much as I like will say that the sequels are still like my least favorite Star Wars movies, I've definitely warmed up to them a lot. And I recently rewatched all three, and the way that I think about it is like, even if these aren't my favorite stories, those three are like their own thing. Anything like before or after, I'll check it out because I still like canon. Like I'm excited for the Rey movie just because it's like a new movie with Jedi. Like it could be awesome.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's a separate standalone thing. So like the way that I see it is like, you know, there was a whole, people hated the prequels when they came out. We all like it because we were kids when they came out, but all the people that were adults when the prequels came out like hated it. But then everyone loves the Clone Wars TV show, and the Clone Wars TV show made the prequels much more enjoyable. And that's because they fleshed out the characters and stuff. So now like the Clone Wars TV show complemented the prequels. So the way that I see it, this might be a hot take, is that this Rey movie, if it's awesome and people enjoy it, it might make people like the sequels more. Like people might go back and be like, oh yeah, I like the sequels more or whatever. But I also do think that the exact same thing that happened with the prequels is going to happen with the sequels, where like we're already like almost 10 years out from The Force Awakens. Kids that grew up with The Force Awakens, they're like teenagers, adults now. And they're going to be like, I love the sequel trilogy. Like it's all Star Wars. Cause like when I was a kid, like I said, my dad hates the prequels, but I grew up in the prequel era. So it's all six are Star Wars to me. Like I would talk about all six when my dad will be like, no, there's 3 Star Wars movies. And so like just like that, where like there's different generations where it's like, no, there's only 3 Star Wars movies. No, there's only 6 Star Wars movies, and there's gonna be like, oh, there's only 9 Star Wars movies. Like it's just gonna keep going. Like in another 10 years, I feel like it's all just gonna be Star Wars, and people are just gonna like not, people that are like, you know, hating on the sequels now, then, and like, cause now when people are like, I don't understand. Like if I do a poll on my channel and I'm like, what's your favorite prequel movie? And everyone picks Revenge of the Sith by like 90% or whatever. There's always that like 50-year-old guy, that like old dude who's like, Revenge of the Sith is terrible or whatever. And that like, that's how I think of it. I'm like, dude, only like old dudes hate on the prequels. Like only like my dad hates the prequels. And I'm like, you have to just be like I was like, you're just some old guy that like saw Return of the Jedi in the theater and you're like mad that like Attack of the Clones wasn't what you wanted or whatever, which is exactly what it was like with the sequels. Like someone who grew up with the prequels, like they hated The Last Jedi or whatever, like me. And, you know, but the difference is that what really changed it for me was like, I started being more active on Star Wars Twitter, and I started following all of these like really awesome people that are really positive and like really nice about the sequels and stuff. And then I was like, man, you know, maybe I should like rewatch them and just see. I was like, you know, I only saw The Last Jedi once in the theater. So I was like, maybe I should rewatch it because I haven't seen it since I was like 18. And I still hated it, but there was cool stuff where I was like, oh, I like this. Like I like Luke talking to Yoda and stuff. And I was like, kind of warming up to like Hermit Luke. I still don't like him. If he
Fair
didn't
enough. Yeah.
ignite, if he didn't ignite his lightsaber over Ben while he was sleeping, I think I would be okay with it. Like I could absolve myself from that. But the fact that he ignited it, I still have a problem with that because like I'm just
Yeah,
kind of
right.
I'm in that camp where I'm like Luke wouldn't do that, but I know like he does have a tendency to like overreact and do dark stuff and whatever. But
Yeah.
I just like, even if I don't like the sequels or whatever, I do hope that they flesh that stuff out. Cause like, honestly, I think it's an interesting choice that they would do so much High Republic, because I just think it's weird that like you drop this movie trilogy and then you're like, we're introducing this brand new era that's 200 years before the movies that we didn't make. And it's like, okay,
Yeah,
like
it's like, get
interesting,
in. Yeah,
interesting
sure.
timeline decision or whatever. And I'm super excited for them to do like the Dawn of the Jedi movie if they actually make it.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for the Rey movie. I'm excited for the Mandalorian movies and Filoni and Favreau doing two Mando
Big
movies and stuff.
multiple, thing, yeah.
So, like, I love The Mandalorian. Like, I think Rogue One and The Mandalorian are probably my two, like, tied for my two favorite things made in the Disney era. So, I'm really looking forward to that. Like, I hope that Mando keeps going and stuff. I just wish that they would do, like, more books, comics, whatever. Like, I don't know, like, they have a whole animation division. Like, do more cartoon shows. Like, I'm super stoked for Tales of the Jedi because I love Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I just
Absolutely.
hope it's about characters that I care about, because like if he drops like 3 episodes about Plo Koon, I'm gonna be really annoyed. And I
You're
hope
kidding. You're kidding.
no, yeah,
The most interesting Jedi ever. What are you talking
yeah.
about?
I'm notorious for like skipping. Like Will and Tony got mad at me because I told them when I watched the Clone Wars I skip episodes. So like they were like, You've never seen when R2 and the droids go to that planet? And I was like, no. I was like,
One.
because I watched it on, because when I binged it on Disney Plus, I would look at the thumbnail and what the title and the description was. So if it's like Jar Jar goes on an adventure with Bail Organa, I'm like, skip. Like I'm not watching that. Like yeah. So I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna watch these like filler episodes. I did the same thing with Rebels too. Like with Rebels, if it's like, I don't know, like
Rebels, yeah. I kind of
if it's like Sabine struggles to find this on this planet, I'm like, skip. Like I don't care. Like I only care about like the main arcs that like actually have something to do with the story. Like so. If Tales of the Jedi comes out and it's about characters that I care about, like obviously my dream is for him to do like 3 Luke episodes, like 3 canon Luke episodes after Return of the Jedi or something. That would be amazing. And I'm hoping they do a Tales of the Sith. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I guess I just want them to like, since there's so many stories that are told in Legends like Darth Plagueis and stuff, I wish that they would like replace those, because it's so annoying to be like, oh yeah, this is Darth Plagueis' origin, but it's only in Legends, so we know nothing. Like there's not even a canon image of the only canon image of Darth Plagueis is like the one from the Tales of the Sith book or whatever, like Stories of the Sith, and it's literally just like glowing eyes and a hood, because they couldn't even decide if they wanted him to look the same. And I'm like, oh my god. So like I wish that they would be like, because they're going and doing like the Essentials Legends collection. I wish they would like be like, okay, who are the most important players? Like, who are the biggest stories where like their stories are really significant to the saga? We should do like a new version of their story. Like, there should be like a new Darth Plagueis book or something, or like a new like let's explain this about Ben Solo or something, or like just fill in these gaps. Like, I don't know. Like, I just want more lore. Like. It's cool that they're doing a movie like after the Rise of Skywalker, but I feel like they should also focus on that gap. That's like there's like a 30-year gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yes. It's a lot of time. A lot can happen in that time. And a lot did happen in that time. So for sure, I think some stories do need to be told. And I totally agree with you. I think there's the characters of the sequels that, I mean, I do appreciate that Disney maybe feel like they're in a bit of a, rock and a hard place, where obviously the backlash, the reception of the movies wasn't what they wanted it to be, but then now they're kind of scared to touch it. But I totally agree with you that I'm like, I think because we need more information about these characters. We need origins, we need backstories, we need in-between stories of the movies to kind of flesh out who, like with Rey, with Ben, who these characters are, who they were, and kind of what their arc was. So I totally agree with that. I love that take. That let's flesh it out, and it might change people's minds. It might change
Yeah,
people's minds for
I think it
sure.
might.
For sure. Now, I want to end on a deep philosophical question for you. And we actually kind of touched on it a few times a little bit in the conversation already. But I want to ask, in your life, in your real life, day to day, what has Star Wars taught you about your morals, your approach to life, your mindset? What is something that you can go, that is something I learned from this character or this movie or this concept from Star Wars? What is something that you stand by in your life day to day because Star Wars has taught you?
Um, no, I mean literally every single day I'm thinking about what I started to do now is like especially after like reading a lot of the books and learning about like obviously the force is fictional, but like those lessons are there. Like it's like based on
Mm,
the force is based on like real like philosophical questions and stuff like that. So like it's based on
mm,
like human behaviors and myths and stories and stuff. So like especially after like learning about and watching videos of George like just like straight up explaining how like the dark side works and stuff and it's really just like, you know, a metaphor for like human behavior and stuff.
mm,
And with Luke, like genuinely being one of my role models since I was a little kid, a lot of the time, if I find myself like about to react like really emotionally to something, I'm just
mhm,
like, is this worth like what, like, I'm like, what, how would Luke react to this? Like, is this like, would this be considered like
mm,
acting like of the dark side or something? And like, something like I'm super impatient. Like I don't like if I'm trying to like do something and it's not working or like if something's loading really slow, I get like super mad and I'll just try to be
mm.
like just like be like Zen, like kind of like Jedi, like just be
Yeah.
like chill out, like Qui-Gon, like kneeling while he's dueling Darth Maul and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
for
like
sure.
because Star Wars is like the biggest thing for me, like I do think about that a lot where it's kind of like dang like this story that George told about like the light side and the dark side and Luke Skywalker and Anakin Skywalker kind of like built my like moral universe like where I kind of think about like oh like that's kind of like or sometimes I'll be like oh that I'm like that's like what Anakin would do like Anakin I shouldn't do that like that he would be
Mm.
he would react all crazy or whatever and like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like super nerdy and corny, but I do think that all the time. Like, how would
No.
Luke react to this situation? Like, what would Luke do?
Mhm.
And like, I kind of like think about it, and I'll be like, okay, like, yeah, maybe I should just chill out right now or something. Or like, sometimes I'll think about like, I've thought about like just like what would a Jedi do like to help someone or something. Like, sometimes like if
Mm.
I'm in a rush and I'll like see someone coming when I'm leaving a store, and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to hold the door for them, but I'm like. Luke Skywalker would hold the door for them. So then I like wait and I like hold the door and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, thank you. Like, you know, cause it's like, I genuinely do that. Like I'll go to Barnes and
I
Noble and I'll be like, should I
love
hold the
that.
door for this lady? Like, oh, Luke would hold the door for her. So I'm like, okay, like, hi and stuff. So yeah. Or like, I think about that all the
Yeah.
time just to like try to get myself to like maybe just be like a little bit nicer to people and stuff. And like, should
Mhm.
like if in my apartment building, like I'm like, should I bring this lady's package in? Like, yeah, Luke would carry her package in for her. So I'm like, okay, do you want help with that or whatever? So yes,
Yeah.
I genuinely do that just like because
Yeah.
I feel like you know sometimes like I'm not like a super religious person, so like I just use
Mm.
Star Wars like to kind of do that. Like you know where someone might like use like
Yeah,
Jesus
for
and
sure.
stuff, I'm like Luke Skywalker would do this. Like I want a what would Luke
I was about to
Skywalker do
mention.
bracelet.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want that.
WWLD. Let's
Yeah, because
yeah,
I
gotta
because
do it. What would Luke
I
do?
think that all the time where I'm just like Luke would do this or like Luke wouldn't do that like blah 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 or like a Jedi
Mhm.
would do that. So yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
really crazy to think about like it's literally a story about like space wizards and stuff, but like I do think about like yeah, like would a Jedi do this or like would a Sith Lord do this or like shit like I guess if I
Mm.
Jedi would help them do that or whatever like I think about that every single day like with almost anything
Yeah.
like that happens.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that so much. It's a space wizards, but meaningful space wizards.
Yeah,
I
that's what's
love
so
it.
crazy
It's so
about
good.
it is
So
like
good.
how the story like really resonates with people and like with everyday life. That's what's crazy.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, I love this. This has been such an epic conversation. I feel like I've learned so much, and I agree. Maybe we should get a tattoo. WWLD. What would
Yeah,
Luke do?
I need a Luke
Such a
tattoo
beautiful
because
lift.
I actually,
Yeah.
ironically, I have a Darth Vader tattoo. That's just like the
Yeah.
first one
Right.
that I happen to get, so I need to get a Luke
Yeah. Yeah.
tattoo for real.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be Anakin. Be Luke. You gotta
Yeah.
get you gotta get the both sides of it. I love it. Well, Retney, tell the people listening and or watching where people can find your content, find more about you, and get connected into your content.
Pretty much on anything. I mean, Instagram, TikTok, if you prefer, Twitter, if you want to see me ramble and say stupid things and then apologize for it later about The Last Jedi and stuff. So, but YouTube preferably because I have to pay rent and
the
buy
bills,
food
yeah.
and stuff. So YouTube is the main platform, especially for long form videos too, because TikTok and Instagram is just like their shorts and stuff. So, but yeah, pretty much anywhere Star Wars content can be found, I'm trying to be there.
Absolutely. And if you want to check any of his stuff out and any of his social medias, that'll be linked down below in the description of this episode. But thank you so much, Retney, for coming on. We appreciate you. WWLD. We'll catch you later.